It's time for Cats Talk Wednesday. Small town and big city joined forces. Benny Hardy of Lynch, Kentucky, and Terry Brown of Louisville, Kentucky, team up to give you free-flowing, laid-back sports talk. Focus on Kentucky Wildcats, as well as pertinent information in the NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball.
Welcome to Cats Talk Wednesday. Vinny Hardy. Terry TB Brown is back this week with the wrong hat, but that's all right. We're glad you're back anyway, man. How you doing?
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be here. You know, sometimes you got to take a break even from the stuff that you want to do. So I'm glad to be back. Yes, I'm rooting on the Phillies in the World Series. I'm against the Astros. Sorry, Van Hals. These Astros banging the trash cans and whatnot. I don't have a dog in the fight.
No.
Way back when I was working in Louisville, you know, because for those that don't know, my cap collection is immaculate. I've got, I think at last count, 125 hats, caps, and that is all the MLB teams. So what will happen, or what I would do during the playoffs, one of the teams that won the night before, I would just grab that hat, put it on. That's what I would wear to work. And this guy used to get so mad. You can't do that. You can't. What are you doing? You know, you can't do that. You know, whatever. I root for everybody. I hope both teams win. But yeah.
I have no dog in the fight. It's been 6 years since the team you now root for won their World Series. It's been 1 year since my team won their World Series. Everybody was commemorating and all that kind of stuff. Don't really pull for the Astros. You know, my Braves just beat Van Haal's Astros last year.
Yeah.
But with the Phillies coming out of the NL East, the NL East is kind of like the NFC East. It's just a lot of hate, a lot of, you know, going against each other, like the Mets and the Braves, the Phillies and the Braves, Cowboys and Eagles. So the Phillies, I can't rock with the Phillies either. So I'm kind of pulling for the Astros because of Dusty Baker, and he played for the Braves, and I'd like to see Dusty get one. That's the only reason that makes me lean any kind of way is Dusty, who you have dressed up as when he was with the Cubs with the toothpick in tow and all.
That's right. So I want to see Dusty do well. Here's the thing I don't understand about Dusty Baker. When you look at his Wikipedia page, his baseball reference page, he's a very good manager. Like, the Cubs was trash for decades. He came and made them relevant. And those fans hate Dusty Baker.
The Cubs fans? Oh.
Because he ruined Mark Pryor. He ruined Kerry Wood. I don't know enough about baseball to have an opinion one way or the other, but I'm like, you was relevant. You know, you weren't relevant. You were relevant. He kind of springboarded the franchise toward the World Series. Cincinnati, the last quarter century, ain't done nothing besides what Dusty did with them, and they don't like that dude either.
Wow.
And, you know, yeah, he needs that World Series. I want to give it to him. You look at what he did in Washington. Got that team from being dreadful to on the precipice.
Just close to San Francisco.
Yeah, going back to San Francisco, as good as they had it. And then, of course, you know, they win, you know, after that. So I don't know why people don't like that dude. But the resume to me just says he's a pretty good manager.
Nope.
He can get some results. I know a lot of folks are making hay because they asked him before the World Series, had he talked to anybody, and he name dropped Bill Cosby. Okay. Yeah, we know Bill Cosby. He's whatever. We're not here to rehash that. But I'm like, old people and old black dudes in general. Look, my dad was a police officer for 30 years. He would throw out names of dudes that had been in jail for 30 years. I didn't see it be that big a deal. What wasn't that big a deal is when they asked him the day before, how did he feel that this is the first World Series since 1950 without any American-born black players in it. He expounded on that. Now, that got no headlines.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have talked about that. Other people smarter than myself have written about that, and there's reasons for that and everything. That, to me, is an issue. But at any rate, if the Astros do pull it off, I won't be sad to see Dusty finally get his due. He's been a baseball man for ever.
Yeah, 50, 40.
I mean,
all that life.
Yeah, he's going way back to that first, breakthrough generation,
Yeah.
and so I'd love to see him get his due.
He was with Atlanta when Hank broke Babe's record.
I think so. I think so. So give the man his due. I know for some reason, like, I don't understand why folks look, okay, if you're not warm and fuzzy, but they hate that dude, and I don't know why.
And maybe he's not warm and fuzzy, but he's not the prickliest dude ever. He's pretty, outgoing, forthcoming. He could be a lot more grumpier and curt and
yeah,
if he wanted to be. But
I don't know, but yeah. So anyway, World Series, I'm rooting for the Phillies, but if Houston wins with Dusty, I won't be mad about it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't have a dog in the fight, man. They ain't bringing my Expos back. It's been 28 years. Since the 94 season was canceled. That still hurts my feelings, but at any rate,
that's it.
That's our baseball for the day.
That's right. Phillies up 2-1, so Houston need to try to even it up tonight if they're gonna keep it around, keep it going. Oh, follow us as always at Cats Talk Wednesday, Facebook and Twitter. Listen on Anchor, wherever you get your podcast. And you can watch us on BS3 TV and YouTube, BS3TVLive.com, part of BS3 Network. Definitely appreciate that. Y'all have seen members of the network come up in here on this show. Ben Sutherth and Ivan Dawkins and Courtney Harden has a podcast on here. He's all Eagles, so we on different sides of things, but he's still a good dude. And we had fun when he was on here. We got Carrie Lewis, friend of the show, who hasn't been on here in a hot minute, but she's coming on here. She is part of the panel with you on Round the Shots.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all doing y'all thing on Sunday nights, and she's going to hop over here about 7. So you got the link and the email, and we sent her the link, and she's ready to hop on with us. Girls Beer Sports is her primary podcast, but she does others as well. And she's been in the game a long time, man. One of the podcasters in the Kentucky community, like us, the met in those Twitter streets, you like to call it. Known her for a long time. I bumped into her one time covering a football game right outside the Nutter Fieldhouse. Just kind of turned around, and there she was, and I recognized the voice more so because I don't even know if we was doing video stuff back then. And so got to meet her face-to-face outside of Nutter. Was watching Christy Thomas and Freddie Maggott do the pregame show, and that's where I got to chop it up with Carrie for a minute. So good lady. If y'all don't know her, y'all will agree with us after she comes on here with us. A lot of people already know her as well. We got wounds to lick, but we'll get to that. I think, man, the first thing we got to start off with is the sad news from BBN with the passing of Damian Collins' father, unexpectedly. Young fella going into his sophomore year. You'd seen the improvements he had made in some of the exhibition games and hitting jumpers and expecting big things. And his dad just moved up to Lexington. They were excited to watch him, and to have that happen at age 20. Now, it don't matter what age, but I was 43. I was full grown. To be half the age I was, and to be 20 years old, and for him to lose his father unexpectedly like that, you just ache and feel terrible for him and his entire family. They're a close-knit family, and just couldn't believe that when you heard it. Saw Kyle Tucker confirm it, and somebody had saw it on his Snapchat, and then Kyle Tucker said it's true. I said, oh my goodness, that is.
Yeah, it's tough at any age, but I couldn't imagine doing that when I was in college because I was still finding my way at 20.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Just trying to be a
condolences.
student, trying to be not even trying to be a basketball player and go to the NBA. Just trying to be a regular student.
Yeah, at 20, I was fighting to get my way back to school after flunking out. But uh, yeah, so I know, and we talked about this during the exhibition game when that entire coaching staff of Southeast Missouri, whoever we play, I can't remember.
Western or whoever, John Hood and all them, and all,
Yeah, all
Chris
those.
Stevenson and everybody.
Right. Just talking about what a family the basketball team is, and you always got that feeling, right? We've talked before. The players are a lot of good kids, but you look at the support staff that has gone on to do big and great things, and the former players have done that as well. And so I know that Cal and the staff will wrap their arms around Damien and his family, and so will the Big Blue Nation. For all the ills,
Yeah,
and I'll be the first one to get on. I try to pull back a little bit, but sometimes Big Blue Nation can go off the deep end. But there are times when it truly is special when we rally around each other. I talked about this on Spaces last night. One of my favorite nights on Twitter was back in 2020 when the volleyball team won the championship.
mm-hmm.
Terrence Clark had passed away the day before, and that was a palpable sadness among everyone. But just being on Twitter that night, as we were all kind of mourning Terrence Clark, and then also cheering the volleyball team, that was a special night. I'll never forget that. Social media, there's negative to it, there's bad to it, but there's times when it's pretty special, and that was one of those times. And so I know as the season goes on, we will be there for Damian Collins and his family.
Yeah, and seen similar things, instances with Chris Oates, with everything he's gone through. I've seen everybody come and rally and help him, and players, the state as a whole when something happens. But when somebody does play for Kentucky and is going through something like that, yeah, they would definitely do their best to comfort him and support him. So we definitely had to make sure we send our condolences to the family as well, and before we even talk about anything else. No smooth transition. You talked about going off the deep end as the fan base is wont to do. There was a lot of that happening Saturday night in Knoxville.
Well,
Deep end, and
yeah,
I heard y'all on Round the Shots, and yeah, it is time to move on to Missouri, but that was one, like you said, you lose big, lose little, win big. Didn't expect to be losing big like that on that stage Saturday night.
that was my whole thing was in retrospect. Number one, before the season, I don't think anybody anticipated Tennessee to be that good,
You know,
and they are good.
yeah.
It pains me to say it, but Tennessee football is good. You can call their offense gimmicky, you can whatever, but they're out here taking care of business, right? And so you have to give the devil his due. Um, so before the season, I thought going down to Knoxville was a winnable game. I thought that up until a couple of weeks ago. And when Tennessee, and again, you can talk about calls and this, that, and the other, they took care of Alabama. And just watching the way they played, then it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah, yeah.
And a night game at Neyland with Tennessee rolling, that was going to be a tough task. I don't care who we were sending down there. That was going to be a tough task with all that.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I had hoped that we were beyond being embarrassed. And it was embarrassing.
Yo.
When Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler are talking about everything but the game in front of them in the third quarter, that's embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no other way to frame that game. And I don't know if you can say play calls, the coaches wasn't right, the players didn't have their heads right, or whatever. It was all systems failure in my mind. Because again, I thought we were beyond the embarrassing part,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and that's what that's what got me was I don't know if it was plays that we could have done different, or I don't know, uh, a combination of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like you, like, over the summer, who's second in the SEC? Kentucky's name thrown out. Tennessee's name thrown out. Kentucky has been finishing second
Yeah.
in the SEC. And, you know,
Okay. I,
man,
that's Sammy. I got to get him out. I'll be back in a minute.
all
I
right.
apologize.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, I'll keep it going. But you you have, like TB said, you kind of see maybe it might be a troublesome game. It's always troublesome in Knoxville because they won in 1984, then they won in 2020. And all those years in between, they had not won in Knoxville. Had been a lot of wins in Lexington. Try to throw that history out. The current players don't know that history, but it's still a lot of trouble getting over that hump against Tennessee. And a lot of people, they don't have a chance, don't have a chance. I wasn't in the Kentucky doesn't have a chance crowd. Um, but you did kind of see the way the teams were trending. If Tennessee keeps playing the way they've been playing, Kentucky playing the way they've been playing, that it's not going to be good. It's going to be hard for Kentucky to win because Kentucky hasn't clicked. Hasn't clicked. Defense has played well all year, with the exception of a quarter or half against South Carolina, things of that nature. But you get to the point where the way Tennessee was playing, the way Kentucky had been playing all year, if they both play like they had been playing, because Kentucky had never clicked at any point the way Tennessee was clicking. The defense has been solid and been kind of shoring up game in and game out, with the exception of a few, quarters and halves. But special teams, ever since Ole Miss has just been in the funk, been missing
Yeah.
kicks, getting kicks blocked, missing field goals, having all kind of issues. Offensively, the offensive line, we've seen Levis take a beating. We saw him miss the South Carolina game because he took such a beating. We've seen the run game not really be the run game pre-Rodriguez, post-Rodriguez. So you're like, if they play the way they've been playing, I don't know. I never was this type to say there's no chance. A lot of people, there's no chance, there's no chance. Turned out they didn't have much of a chance. But I still was convinced that Kentucky got the pieces, if they ever put it together, to go down there and give them a game. But it just, 8 games in, still saying the same things, especially with the line, still seeing an inability to protect.
It's like Bill Parcells once said, "You are what your record is." I mean, at some point, we are who we were. I think we all, and, I'm pointing this at myself. I think we um, underrated the growth pains, the growing pains of the offensive line,
Mm-hmm.
and that has been the issue. The offensive line, and I know those young men are fighting; they're trying. That's not what I'm saying, but the issues that have persisted. Will Levis doesn't have a good clock in his head to uh, do what he needs to do because of the relentless pressure. As you talked about, he's been beat up all year. So that changes every quarterback. Talking in the spaces, you remember a few years ago, the Super Bowl, the Chiefs and the Buccaneers. And Patrick Mahomes, as good as he was, when you got a bunch of dudes on the offensive line, even the best can't do what they need to do. So that's been an issue. C-Rod, as good as he is, there's only so much he can do if he's got to juke a dude right when he's getting the snap.
Nope.
Even the greatest backs need a hole to get through. And it hasn't been there. Now, there's been some improvement,
Yeah.
but not to the level Kentucky needs to be successful. So, a lot of people, again, we had our spaces last night, and, folks being disheartened because of the three losses. And I said, why? Well, it's how they lost. Well, as I tell folks all the time, you got to watch more college football. Kentucky's not the first team to lose how they lost to Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Those games happen. Even still, Kentucky is where 50 other college football programs are.
Mm-hmm.
If you're losing your starting quarterback, that's a tough ask for any team, right? If you basically shoot yourself in the foot 5 times like at Ole Miss,
Yo.
not too many teams can overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
And against Tennessee, it's one of those things. When I started doing the math leading up to the game, I was like, oh, this is a night game. This is going to be a tough task to do. I wish we had had a better showing. My concern is, and I hate to say this because I never challenge people's or criticize people's motivations, but it just looked like we got to the point of, let's just get this over with.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do what we got to do to get out here. And I'm gonna say it because I've said it. I said it on Spaces. I'll say it again. Said it on Round of Shots. If you spend the off season throwing stones at your coworker who's in the Hall of Fame, if you want people to say that the university is a blank school that you coach, you can't do this. You can't have this. You and I didn't wade into that back and forth between Cal and Stoops too much. The only point I took umbrage with was this notion that Cal was born on third base. And a lot of people bought into that. And I think that was underselling the work it takes to maintain a blue blood program.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, when Nick Saban walked into Alabama, Bama was already Bama. But to do what he's done has taken a lot of work. When Roy Williams got to UNC and won 3 more titles, like that, there's work involved in that. And so if you are going to talk about you big and bad, and you've got players adding the basketball team, you've got coaches adding the basketball team, and you've gone on a whirlwind tour of telling everybody how bad you are, you can't look this bad.
Yeah.
I love Stoops. He's done great. But that was a bad look. Also, a bad look was, I think it was on Monday, talking about the offensive play call. And I'm not going to get the quote exactly right, but, basically things have got to get better. People are not going to be long here. At some point, like we sacrificed Eddie Grant. We've sacrificed Shannon Dawson. At some point, it goes to the man on top. Because if you look at all the offensive coordinators that have come through, you look at Eddie Grant before Kentucky and when he was here. At Cincinnati in particular, the ball was zoom, 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 zoom. He gets here, it's not. Right? So at some point, it's on you. Now, the interesting thing is, life is all about um, expectation, right? And so a lot of us thought that 10 wins were possible. I believe that. I did. My whole reasoning was of the 12 games, 11 of them are teams that we should beat or could beat. And it wasn't far fetched to think that.
Yeah.
So if Kentucky finishes 8-4, which is possible,
Yeah.
are you really going to be disappointed? And some people might be, but I just don't think we're to the point where 8-4 Kentucky can be disappointing. And folks might call that celebrating mediocrity. You might call that whatever, but again, Kentucky's at the same position as 50 other programs that are in that 6, 7, 8 win area. And a lot of things have to break right to get into that 10.
Yeah. Yeah. And 8-4 is still doable. I mean, it's Georgia is going to be a lot to ask, even though it's at home and all that, based on the way they've been playing. And you can't let one become two, which we've seen that happen a lot. And you fool around and keep this up, you're gonna lose Missouri because they're better than we thought. They're not trash like we kind of thought. I see Eli Drinkwitz, and I just kind of laugh at this dude.
Yeah.
This dude gonna get. It's either gonna be Brian Harsin at Auburn or Drink. Who's gonna get fired first? And Missouri sputtered and stumbled and fell on their face out the gate, had Auburn beat, and dude fumbles out the end zone, and they have bounced back, played Georgia tougher than anybody has all year, and probably should have beat them. Beat South Carolina, something that we can't say. So,
Yeah.
and they play Florida tough. They're playing a lot better than we thought.
Yeah.
So
I will be back. I gotta this dog, man. All right, I'll be back, sir. You continue.
yeah. But you gotta get it right, because if you fool around after this, let Tennessee beat you, let Tennessee dog walk you, and one loss can easily become two. It's out there at Missouri, which is the drabbest stadium and atmosphere in the SEC, and that's saying something when you look at Vanderbilt Stadium in Nashville. Vandy Stadium is not great. Mizzou, it's a noon kickoff Central Time, so it's 11 a.m. out there in Columbia, Missouri. And if it's cold, if it's dreary, it's drab. You got the portion of the end zone doesn't have bleachers or seats. It's just got those rocks with the M painted on it from Missouri. So you go out there and fool around and you ain't got yourself together, and you could have another loss. You could be 5-4 heading into Georgia, when preseason you thought 8-1, 7-2. Say you lose to Ole Miss and Tennessee, and you 7-2. Beat Missouri and South Carolina, that's where you'd be at. 7-2 was probably the floor heading into Georgia. A lot of people thought they had a chance to be undefeated, and they did. Should have beat South Carolina. Should have beat Ole Miss. Didn't show up against Tennessee, so maybe you could be 8-1 playing undefeated Georgia if Georgia beats Tennessee this coming Saturday. So you fool around and can be looking at 5-4 if you don't get your mind right heading out to Como, because that'd be a real possibility. Because if you let one become two again, you're gonna be in a world of hurt.
Yeah. So I think they can get to 8-4, and so the situation, and somebody brought this up on Spaces. Does Stoops' seat get hot? And I don't think so, because if you're Kentucky football, you can't run off the all-time winningest coach if he finishes 8-4.
Yes.
And people have snarkily said anywhere else Stoops would have been fired 6 years ago. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think I know it's meant to be a dig, but every program is different. because I don't know if you've listened to the Bomani Jones podcast a couple weeks ago. He had Spencer, EDBS, Spencer Hall on talking about it. And they've said, like, hey, Alabama get back-to-back 3-loss seasons. Saban got to go. And it sounds crazy that the dude that's done what he's done, but that's how that operates.
Mm-hmm.
As Kentucky fans, we get it on basketball. Billy Gillispie was SEC Coach of the Year. And the next year, he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are, I don't know, Miami of Ohio, if you are, I mean, hell, if you're Louisville, right?
Talk about them too.
Yeah, we got to talk about them. If you're Louisville, you don't run off Chris Mack like that. I mean, he left on his own, whatever. But my point is, we had Billy Gillispie. Yes, he was Conference Coach of the Year. We looked around and said, this ain't it. After 2 years, he got to go. Mm-hmm. Yes, because the demand is different. It absolutely is different.
Yep.
It's like when North Carolina looked around, they had Matt Doherty, who played there, who had coached there, an assistant. Mm-hmm. He wasn't getting it done. He had to go. I don't think it's a dig. If Mark Stoops had his record anywhere else, absolutely, you're absolutely right. 5-7, 5-7. The way we got to 5-7 a lot of those years, starting out 5-1, losing 6 straight. Yeah, that's got to go. But Kentucky football can't do that. Mm-hmm. And if you want to say that's accepting mediocrity, whatever the hell that means, that's just the reality is you get rid of Stoops, where do you go? This is still not a destination job.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're still seeing Stoops' name pop up in other jobs. Cole Kubelik tweets out the odds of who's going to be at Auburn, and it's Dion and Lane Kiffin and this person and that person. And Mark Stoops is down there showing up on the list. My take real quick on the Cal Stoops. I'm with you on everything you said about Stoops. I still think Cal could have said what he said without saying anything about the football team. So I don't blame Stoops for getting mad, but he did go too far. To me, 2 wrongs don't make it right. Tell Mitch you want a facility without saying, hey, hope you keep winning 10 games. You can do that. But Stoops got offended. The third base stuff, that's just he got rolling and didn't pull himself back and just so 2 wrongs don't make it right. He is the all-time winningest coach in football. I'm with you on that. But Corey Price, another panelist on Round the Shot, tweets out that this is the most lopsided loss Kentucky has ever had when they're ranked and their opponent is ranked. So in a span of 7 weeks, we passed Bear Bryant, and then we set history for the wrong reason by taking the worst butt whooping ever when we're playing another ranked team. That's a heck of a gamut to run in a month and a half.
And for me, it's going to be awkward when potentially this basketball team that Cal has the potential to get to a Final Four. So next spring, when the Board of Trustees starts allocating funds on who gets what, it's going to be interesting if this football team finishes 6-6, which is a possibility.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
The men's basketball team gets to Final Four number, I don't know, 18, 19. I don't know the number, gets to a Final Four. And plus, if DJ Wagner joins that super class, it's a distinct possibility that Cal could have maybe, the odds are slim, back-to-back player of the year. You got to go back to Ralph Sampson for that.
Yeah.
I think the odds are better that Oscar goes back-to-back first-team All-American, which you've got to go back to 51 to have at Kentucky. I thought you could only go back to Kenny Walker, but he was first team, I think second team. Mm-hmm. So you've got Cal doing all this stuff. If he rights the ship, gets to a Final Four, at which point anything can happen, and then sets up for next year to have that loaded team, and you 6-6, That offseason now is the winter of our discontent.
Ooh.
That's an offseason.
And Louisville, I know it's ACC. Louisville beat the fool out of Wake Forest, who was ranked 10th in the country.
So
I mean,
lose that Louisville game.
ooh.
Lose the Louisville game and see what happens. So look, I love Stoops. I understood what Cal said, but like you said, I think Stoops overcorrected.
Yeah.
And I think having all his coaches and all his players, because look,
regulators mount up basically after this week.
Everyone knows in college athletics and professional football rules. We get that. That's the moneymaker. That's the everything, right? However, when it comes to specific schools, we know who the premier programs are. Why are we playing dumb with this? I've been all over the country wearing Kentucky stuff. Ain't not one person asked me about football. I mean, that's just how it is. So you can get in your feelings about it. But and really, honestly, wherever you are from, I'm out here telling folks I'm from Kentucky. Folks want to ask me about KFC. And I'm like, of all the things in Kentucky, KFC. But that's just how it goes, right? Yeah. You know, I'm from Louisville. It's either the Bats or the Derby, or Kentucky, it's bourbon. Now, I can get mad and be like, well, you know, actually, we produce more. That ain't what this is. When you say it's a blank school, what's what everybody's talking about?
Yeah.
What has been near the top in its field since the 1930s? Kentucky, why are we playing dumb about this? Basketball on a whole is behind football, but not at UK.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what else to tell you. It just is.
Like Max Duffy, former punter from Australia, he comes over here and people ask him about Foster's and Outback. And he, you know, and that ain't what Australia is about, you know, but that's
crocodile. Like, I mean, but that's just how it is, right?
Yep.
When I told people I'm moving to Iowa, what is the one thing people said to me? Corn.
Yeah.
Is there more to Iowa than corn? Yes. But is that what they're known for? Yes. So why be mad about that? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
So I that whole back and forth, it was dumb. Cal shouldn't have said. I wasn't really bothered by it, but Stoops got to take up for his guys. But it was the overkill. You can't talk the talk and then get boat race like this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cal lost to St. Peter's. He didn't say nothing about the football team before he lost St. Peter's. He didn't say nothing about how he's the only this on campus and then go 9-16. That ain't what happened. So again, let this football team go 6-6. Let the basketball team get to the Final Four. I think is it in Houston? I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
Let those things come to pass. It's going to get awkward.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially when there are other coaches on staff that have hardware too.
Mm-hmm.
We know SEC football is tough. We know that. But you know what, Vinny? So is everything else. So when the swimming and diving team wins the SECs, when the track team finishes first, second in the SECs, when volleyball, we've had 2 whole classes go through volleyball, and they've all won a championship, SEC championship, 5 straight. 5 straight.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when other teams start doing that, and look, I love football. They've won some bowls, all that kind of stuff. But we're an everything school. Shout out to men's soccer, finished undefeated, number 2 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Won the Sun Belt because the SEC doesn't have men's soccer as a sport.
Yep.
But shout out to that.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Rifle. The Rifle set a program record. I don't know how you score it. I don't even know what that means. I just saw they set a record. I saw the tweet and I was like, that's pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
I guess you shoot bullseyes. I really need to go because I don't understand what the rifle is all about. But at any rate, there's a lot of championship level coaches on staff,
Mm-hmm.
and picking a fight with the Hall of Fame coach not gonna work.
Uh-huh. Exactly. And we can keep this going, but we will keep it going with our guest who just popped up backstage in the BS3 Network Roku Green Room. She hosts Girls Beer Sports. It's part of a trio, but I don't know. She's probably the biggest cog of the trio, if we had to be honest.
Is she the like Beyonce of Destiny's Child?
I don't think so, because
Okay.
last time she was on, it was just her. It was the other two wasn't there. It was Carrie Lewis of Girls Beer Sports. You can find them wherever you get your podcast. Instagram, Twitter, the whole nine. She knows her sport. She knows her beer. She is a girl. She knows all kind of stuff. She can do whatever she wants, and she wants to come on right now with us. And here she is.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Vinny. Hey, TB.
What's up, Carrie?
Welcome, Carrie.
What's going on?
Finally, it's during the week that we get to talk, so that's a step in the right direction.
I know, right?
And,
no bourbon for me tonight.
and we won't keep you past 10:30.
That's fine. It's all good. Yeah. Hey, Vinny. It was funny. It's funny that you said that because I was talking to my husband last night about coming on, and I said, I know I've been on the show before, but I think the last time I was on, y'all were still on Blog Talk Radio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We didn't even see no video.
No.
Yeah, we've made the pivot to video, so we're moving on up in the world.
Right, y'all on TV and everything.
That's right.
Staticky phone lines. And,
oh God! I was telling you, Blog Talk Radio was so bad, man.
They still email me stuff like offers and discounts and trying to get me out. Well, I'll get an email every now and then. I'm like, no.
Wow.
Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you.
I'm good.
So we've been chopping it up. We talked a little UT. We talked about you and TV being panelists on Round the Shots. So I listened to y'all Sunday. Listen to some of your episode 344, Girls Beer Sports, because you've been in the game just like we have for a long time. So we licked our wounds and we trying to get to Missouri and just we got to get our minds right or one could become two again.
Well, and you're right. And I would just like to go on record again. I'm going on record on any show that I can to say that on Round of Shots back in like August when we were previewing the football season, I said, because they were all, everybody's like, oh, what game do you think that we could lose or games that, besides Georgia, and people had said Florida and whatever. And I said, there's a possibility that we could go to Missouri and lose because we have notoriously not played well at Missouri the last couple of times we've been down there. And I don't know why, but yeah, this is a must win. This is a must play well to win also because Missouri all of a sudden is not a bad team.
Yep. And it's 11 o'clock Central Time kickoff. Mm-hmm. And their stadium makes Vanderbilt Stadium look like a legit SEC stadium. They got those rocks in the end zone. They don't even have seats. They got boulders just thrown randomly out there at the end. It's so drab. And don't let it be cold and rainy out there. Oh.
Why would you pay to sit on a rock? I don't understand it. Like, I still can't wrap my mind around it. Every time I see it on TV, the people out there sitting on rocks, and I'm like, the bleachers aren't, they're not super comfortable, but it's not a rock.
Yeah, like single A baseball has bleachers. I mean, they even have berm or soft grass, but not rocks out in the outfield. They're proud of that rock too. They got a big M painted on the rock. They're proud of it.
It's old people sitting on it. Like I can say, you could put a kid in my 20s. I could have sat on a rock, but sit on a rock now, I'm gonna have to get realigned and all that stuff.
Tailbone be screaming in the second quarter.
For real. I mean, I get it. Like, there's plenty of teams out there, like, especially smaller schools. Like I was watching, I think we're watching Kent State. Kent State last night. I think that's the game that we were watching. in some Tuesday night action. And yeah, they had people sitting kind of out on a hill, but there was grass and it was a hill, you know? I mean, you bring out your blanket and a chair.
A little soft knoll, it's easy
Yeah.
on the posterior, it's a little cushy, you know.
Now you watch more football than anybody else, and part of the reason I tell Kevin he needs to watch more football is Kentucky fans and fans of any sport. We zero in on our team because that's generally the only game we watch start to finish every week.
Not
But
me.
some of the issues with Kentucky, you know, we've talked about this all. It's kind of universal, right? Kentucky's in that glut of like 30 to 40 teams where, you know, it just depends week to week what kind of outcome you're going to get.
Well, and you're totally right. I mean, look at Oklahoma State last week. Oklahoma State, you know, looked good 2 weeks ago, and then they didn't score a point against Kansas State. Not 1 point. And I mean, look at Auburn. Auburn used to was like, man, competing for the West, you know, they thought they were going to beat Alabama every year, and they are an absolute shambles. So, you know, those are two teams that just come to top of mind right now. It absolutely could, you know, sometimes our fans, Kentucky fans, drive me up the wall, especially in football, because it's the skies falling mentality that just drives me absolutely nuts. And it always could be worse. It absolutely 100 could it be better? Yes, because I feel like this season has been somewhat of a disappointment, especially since we haven't won 6 games yet. We're not bowl eligible, and Missouri's not going to be easy. Vandy, we should win, but that Louisville game now looks tougher than it did a couple of weeks ago, and we got to play Georgia. So, you know, I hope we get to 6 games, but I'm still not going to jump off the wagon and act like, you know, oh my God, this is awful. This is terrible. This is the Kentucky football of the 90s. No, it is not. It's not. Just forget that mentality, y'all. Just forget it. Because, yes, there are plenty of teams out there that are on the struggle bus way worse than we are. Way worse. I mean, look at Oklahoma. Oklahoma is not good at football right now. Yeah. They're not, you know, and they're a national championship winning team. They're this and that in the Big 12. West Virginia, not good at football right now. Neil Brown, definitely on the hot seat for sure. So, you know, there's plenty of teams out there that are struggling.
So what is your routine? Just to like you always know when Kentucky's playing. You get the announcement the week before, if it's 12 o'clock, 3:30, 7. And how do you base your football watching around Kentucky? Say Kentucky's at 3:30. Are you watching a full game from noon until Kentucky comes on? Are you flipping the channels between 4 or 5 games? Are you recording games on Sunday and watching stuff and Monday? What's the routine?
So what I usually do is, I'll flip around through games, and then I'll finally find a game to land on. Like last week, I finally kind of landed on Baylor, West Virginia, or TCU, West Virginia, because that was a really good football game. And then I'll kind of flip and just, you know, keep up with the scores of the other games or whatever. And then, you know, I'll watch Kentucky all the way through whenever they're on. And then after they're over, I'll watch kind of more of the games. And I'll do that kind of flipping to find one that I really like and stick with it. And then here's my cheat code, y'all. And this is a good cheat code. GBS pro tip. College football final on Sunday mornings is my husband and I's Sunday morning routine. We get up, we record it. It's on like 100 bazillion times on ESPNU. We record it and we sit down. It's only an hour, but it gives you the highlights of, you know, all the games you might have missed. You know, the games that are, you know, not Power 5 games, Division 2 games, and that kind of thing. So that's kind of my little cheat code right there.
So y'all wake up to a little Joey Galloway and is it
yep. Matt Berry.
Matt Berry, okay. Okay, yeah, all right. We just get a little full platter, a whole smorgasbord crammed into an hour. I got you.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I said, that helps me kind of keep up with what's been going on in, you know, other games that I maybe didn't have a complete interest in or just didn't have time for.
So you go to sleep to like a Pac-12 game? You kind of
Nah, I usually go sleep before Pac.
Don't get her started on the
after dark,
Pac-12.
because I am not a Pac-12 fan. Man, I'm sorry, Bo Nix. You just need to shut your mouth right now, yo. You. I don't care. You can play Georgia 10 times, and you might win one.
Yeah, 49-3. That was first game of the year. That was pretty decisive there, Bo. So just win your conference and be glad you transferred to a place where you can play. And
right, exactly. Yeah.
Be glad you're not in Auburn. You found greener pastures, literally and uniform wise. So you found green over there.
Well, and here's another to kind of go back to your point about, the kind of the sky's falling in Kentucky. Arkansas. Look at Arkansas. Arkansas started out like a house of fire. Like they looked really, really good, and they just kind of fallen off a cliff. I don't know what happened to them, but they're another one of these teams that came out really, really well and then just have kind of underperformed. I know they had some injuries and things, but they've underperformed, in my opinion.
And I say this every week to Kevin, either via text or Twitter DM or on the actual show. You have to watch more football, because what burns me up is, and I hate bashing our fans, but during the game, anytime there's a Kentucky mistake, it's same old Kentucky. And I'm like, good Lord, everybody has a fumble. Everybody has an interception. Like that is universal from place to place. Everybody in the whole thing of the backup quarterback coming in, setting the world on fire. Well, that's only Kentucky. And I'm like, you got to talk to fans of other fan bases, other teams. And everybody will be able to tell you, we were beating this team. The backup quarterback came in and won the game for them. Like that is like a universal truth of college football.
So a great example of that is last week, Kansas State, Oklahoma. Martinez was hurt. Guess who played for Kansas State? The backup quarterback.
Right. And he comes in, he's setting the world on fire. That's like, sometimes that's just how it goes. I don't know. I need to stop bashing our fans because they're great fans. But when it comes to football, I don't think we understand what it takes to be really good at football.
Well, and sometimes I think that people watching the game don't even understand the game. Like, do you think that kid from Alabama would like to go back and take that muffed punt back?
Oh my God! It gave possession. It gave Tennessee another possession. It made it go from 21-10 to 28-10. Now, I mean, Tennessee still got the ball from that spot and scored, but he gave them a chance to have the ball at that spot and scored. Credit them, they went and scored. Credit Alabama for coming all the way back. But if it's 21-10 there and Alabama goes and gets a field goal 21-13 or makes it 21-17, it's a totally different ball game. And it still was all Tennessee could do to win with that gift. So, I mean, it's such a thin line, and complexion of the game can change and just on stuff like that.
We don't want to admit that there's small margins. If you're not one of the top three teams, I've said it, and I'm going to say it again on Sunday, whether we win or lose in Missouri. Most teams are just figuring out how to win from week to week.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and we should have Kevin on here, but he's a great guy. But
Yeah,
I always
Kevin.
ask, like, why do people think that we should be one of those teams that win 10 games every year? When that's not USC, that's not Michigan, that's not if you're going to be disappointed because we're not 10 wins every year, that's a very short list, in my opinion. Like if that's what you're focused on, I think you're focused on the wrong thing. But that's just me.
Yeah, and again, Texas. I'll give more examples. Texas A&M, $95 million, and how much NIL money, and they won what? 3-4 games? I don't even know what their record is. They're terrible.
3-5, aren't they? Yeah.
They're like the fifth or sixth best team in Texas right now. TCU, I'll throw Baylor in there. Texas Tech, Texas.
Yeah.
So you're looking at the Texas A&M's like the fifth best team in Texas right now.
Maybe even Houston.
How much money? Yeah, Houston. Sure. I'll throw Houston in there. Why not? I'll throw SMU there, and I don't even know what the record is, but what the hell, they're still better than A&M. I mean, all that money and just wow, talk about underperforming.
Yeah, what's the return on investment? I had a point, Vinny. I need to write my questions down. You're the professional.
Y'all might disagree with this. I was just going to throw this out there, but you talk about the small margins and how quickly stuff can change. As bad as it was Saturday in Knoxville, if maybe it's just delaying the inevitable. Maybe the second half plays out the same. But if you get to the locker room down 20-6 and you get the ball back, but when it's 27-6, that's just dagger. You got your head chopped off right before the half, and there was no coming back. If you're down 2 scores and you get the ball, maybe it might not change at all. But I'm like, if they can just survive and get in there down 20-6, we'll take it. And of course, it didn't play out that way. But maybe y'all disagree with that. But that was my thought when it was 20-6 before it became 27-6.
Well, and I want to tell you this: we have to get a special teams coach because we don't have one. I don't know if people realize that, but we don't have a special teams coach per se, and we really, really need to get one.
Yes, it's become a liability.
Yeah, it really has.
Yep.
And when you're depending on those margins, you need every little bit, because you look back to when we had Austin McGinnis, how just having a legitimate kicker in a kicking game changes the way you play the game. It just changes everything. And not having it the way we play, as conservative as we play, every field goal, every extra point, every yard of punt coverage absolutely goes toward the winning formula.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think if I'm looking right, Texas San Antonio might be better than Texas A&M too.
You know what? UTSA is better than Texas A&M. They have a better record.
I was pulling up.
I love the Roadrunners.
I thought so, but I was like, let me look this up before I throw it out there. And I'm like,
yes.
They beat Western. They beat Florida National. They beat North Texas.
They beat
NC State, who stomped the U, but UTSA beat them. Texas Southern fighting Michael Strahan's. Yeah, they better than Texas A&M too.
Yeah, they are. So now we got Texas A&M like the 7th or 8th best team in Texas for $95 million and however much NIL money they paid to those guys.
And those ridiculous they're not cheerleaders. What are they? Yell leaders?
Yell
leaders.
That's man.
A&M is weird, man. A&M is just weird. Just like weird. Boy, I had another football question. Boy, getting old stinks, Vinny. Don't you get old?
That's what the so
just looking at the football program as a whole, Carrie, are you going to be? I know we kind of said it was a little bit disappointing, but if this team can get to 8-4, 6-6 is right there. 5-7 is right there. But if this team can right the ship and get to 8-4. Looking back on the season, how will you feel about it? If that's the case.
I would personally feel really good about it because it's obvious that we had a lot more struggles on offensive line, especially than people ever wanted to admit we were going to have at the beginning of the season, which obviously that's what you do. You don't say, hey, guess what? Our line's going to suck. So, right. Having C-Rod out those 4 games, I still think maybe I didn't, I don't want to say it hurt, but it certainly didn't help the chemistry, I think. But yeah, 8-4 based on where we are now and with the slate of games that we have coming up on the back end, I would absolutely 100% be thrilled with that finish.
So does 8-4 get Stoops on the hot seat? We had this question come up in our spaces last night, Vinny. I don't think, even if you think Stoops has reached his maximum, that 8 to 9 win area, we can't run him off, can we?
Nope.
I mean, I personally don't think so. I think would be a huge mistake to do that, in my opinion. I mean, to take the program where he's taken it, uh, and I don't know if it can go any higher. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know how many more resources. I, I don't know. Maybe this is a ceiling, and that doesn't bother me as much as it bothers some other people. You know, I am extremely happy being a season ticket holder, going to games, cheering, actually going to the stadium thinking, you know what, we're either going to win this game or we've got a hell of a good chance to win. I enjoy watching it on TV thinking the same thing. And I like having a postseason, no matter what it is. So, maybe that's just me, has been a long time suffering Kentucky football fan since the early 90s. But yeah, that's just, I just don't see who you going to replace him with. I mean, look at what Auburn did. Honestly, again, I'll go back to Auburn since this is kind of fresh. They get rid of Gus Malzahn. Okay, that's fine. He's actually been kind of up and down at UCF a little bit, especially this season. He beat UC, which was a really good game there at the end. But they got Brian Harsin, and look what that got him.
That didn't make sense when it happened to me.
Well, and I saw a lot of this after the Tennessee game. Look what Tennessee did in a couple of years. I'm like, no, you don't get to ignore Dooley, Butch Jones, Lane Kiffin. Like, no, it hasn't been just look what they did in a couple of years. That was a dumpster fire for a decade and a half. Like, you don't get to just look what they're doing since they got Heupel. No, you have to go through all that. Coaching changes are hard in my mind. And if you get Stoops out, I don't know anybody can do any better.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I really don't. I don't.
When you say, and I know you see this a little bit, I'm happy. I'm kind of happy with where we are. 8-9 wins, go to a decent bowl game, go into most games with a chance to win or thinking we can win. That's a pretty good place to be because, again, that's where 80% of college football lives. And you say that, people are like, oh, you accept mediocrity. No, because I understand college football is built for those top 6 teams to duke it out. And then everybody else has to find what makes them happy. If you're not going to be in the CFP, what does a successful season mean to you and your fans?
Yeah, exactly. And to me personally, a successful season is any kind of top 20 to top 10, I'll even top 10 finish, and a good postseason bowl. January 1st or New Year's Eve.
Not one of those Thanksgiving bowls.
Yeah, not the.
It was always like what is
pool on Weed Eater bowl or whatever? Yeah.
I'm not Corey Price or anything, who's also appears with y'all around the shots. If I'm looking at this right, y'all talked about running Stoops off if this is the ceiling, 8 or 9 wins, if that's the ceiling. But going back to 1984, when Jerry Claiborne went 9-3, beat Wisconsin in the Hall of Fame Bowl. For the next 10 years, it took 2 years to win 8 or 10 games every time. For the 2 years after that, 5 wins, 5 wins, 5 wins, 5 wins, 6 wins, 4 wins, 3 wins, 4 wins. So it took you 2 years to win 10, 2 years to win 10, 2 years to win 10, 2 years to win 7. For the next, and then 2 years to win 7 again. For the next 10 years, it took you 2 years to win what we get now virtually every year with Stoops.
It wasn't until one of those episodes we did with Van Hiles, and he said he played football for us for 5 years and won 17 games.
Uh-huh.
And, if we get to, 8-4 this year, that's 18 wins over 2.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's progress. Like, I don't know how these folks judge. To me, that's progress. It's not what it used to be. But that, I'm built different. I think the kids say that, Vinny. I need to check.
They do. Oh, Carrie, you talked about on here, you talked about on GBS, you talked about around the shots, being in the band, traveling on the road with the football team, playing on the field at what was then Commonwealth Stadium. Did you do that for basketball also? Were you a referee? Okay. So based on that, from your football travels and your basketball travels, your favorite football venue on the road and your favorite basketball venue on the road, and all the places you went through during your time as a band member.
So I will actually say we didn't get to travel too much with the band, but I did. I have traveled personally in my non-band career
Okay.
to SEC stadiums, and I think I will say my favorite SEC stadium has got to be LSU. Even though we went down there and got our butts handed to us every time, I was down there for that 49-0 debacle, whatever. But the fans were so nice. Like they'll yell, you'll go, you walk around. First of all. Again, another pro tip: stay in New Orleans, rent a car, and drive into Baton Rouge because there's nothing in Baton Rouge. And New Orleans is only an hour outside of Baton Rouge. But you go to Tiger Stadium, and you're walking around, and everybody's yelling Tiger bait" at you, and then they hand you a drink, and they're like, "Oh, come on in, have some food" at the tailgates, and so, maybe it's because we were Kentucky. I don't care. It was, but I'm telling you. Even with it being Kentucky, I've always wanted to go to a not like when they played Alabama or something like that. That is the loudest stadium I have ever been to. Like they are not joking when they say it is one of the loudest stadiums in college football. It is, yeah, it's really, really loud. But the fans are really nice. Ole Miss was okay. I didn't like the Grove was weird to me. I guess it's a little bit different nowadays. They don't do they used to, I think, go you on Friday nights you lined up and they would blow a whistle and everybody would just run to like get their spots on a Friday night. And I don't think they do that anymore. Vandy's Vandy. Yeah, but LSU's got to definitely be. Oh, Tuscaloosa. I've been to Tuscaloosa a couple of times. That stadium's just really big, and Tuscaloosa is a pretty cool college town, though. If you've never been there, they got some great barbecue. Dreamland Barbecue is the legit real deal, like for sure.
Down there,
But yeah, LSU absolutely definitely is probably my favorite college stadium I've been to. In terms of basketball, we traveled with the '96 team, and that was a lot of fun. New Orleans was a lot of fun. Minnesota was the worst place that we went. Awful, terrible, hated it. And then we actually stayed in Secaucus, New Jersey, and had to get bussed into New York City because they actually played that championship, that Final Four in New Jersey. So that was fun.
Yeah, the last just basketball only facility.
Yeah,
for the Final Four. It's been big places ever since. Yeah. Look at us date ourselves. We're all about the same age and all that. I need people. I don't know, Carrie, if you follow. What's that college basketball thing, Vinny? That Twitter account, college basketball, where they show clips from the '90s, and I'm just like, y'all need to stop showing the clips from the '90s. It looks like it was taken on Super 8 film. Like, was it that bad? Like, what are we doing? Like, it's staticky and pre-HD. I feel dated.
Classic CBB at Classic CBB.
And they'll throw out. I'm like, oh man, come on, making me feel old and dated.
The weird thing too is that I saw somebody tweet out the other day that they missed ESPN Classic and all that. The trippy thing was back when you had ESPN Classic, you flip on ESPN Classic, and it was a game that you were at, and I was like, oh, I was at that game. And
when did I become a classic? Yeah, it hurts my feelings. It does. It does.
Whoa.
It does.
Yeah. Oh, but my takeaway from you talking about LSU and all your favorite venues is that Van House, Carrie Lewis says, stay in New Orleans. Your hometown of Baton Rouge has nothing. That was my takeaway.
I'm sorry, Van. Maybe it's got more stuff now. That's been a while, but I can tell you that when we were in Baton Rouge, we were kind of like, there is a casino boat, and I don't know. Maybe we just didn't go to the right places. Maybe I need to hit up Van and see where to go.
Yeah, I'm just stirring it up a little bit, Just...
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, on Round of Shots, though, Carrie is probably more right than anybody else on the show. She said that Smoke was going to start the first game, and other people, no. She said that Missouri was going to be tough, and here we are a few days away. Like, we can't let one loss become two. So
I said it before you came on. I'd see Drinkowitz at media day or his press conference, like, and now you got to take them serious now because they hate Kentucky. Remember their DB went on this big long dialogue about how we hate that blue and we can't stand them, and he was speaking like not with rage, but he was just speaking honestly. We can't stand Kentucky, and it was like he was speaking for the all of Como because he's from there. So I'm like, he's speaking for the high school. He's speaking for his principal. He's speaking for his grandmama. Nobody out there like Kentucky. And DeAndre Square tweeted him with a little smiley face. With it, and that's another thing. Sucks you're not gonna have Square in a game like this, because if you've seen it, I know y'all have seen it. You watch every game all season long. After it plays over, Square is talking to dudes, telling them where to be, what to do. It don't matter if you're a D lineman or a DB. It ain't even his position, but he's the leadership of him being a coach on the field, and you're gonna need that in Mizzou at that drab atmosphere. Trevor Wallace is good, but you don't have all that experience from a guy who knows the defense like the back of his hand.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point because you have those guys on the field, you can tell who they are. Again, TV on every team, right?
Right.
That's the dude he's just not calling the plays defensively or whatever, but he's out there encouraging people and kind of even telling people where to go and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's a big loss.
Somebody's butt if he needs to, kind of like Tyler Eulis did with Scal when he hit him in the chest that time and got in his face.
Yeah,
well, you need guys like that. Yeah. You need guys like that.
Absolutely.
All right, Carrie. As we head toward the home stretch with you, we appreciate you for coming on. But we got the girl, we got the sports, but the other part of your podcast, you talk about beer.
Yeah.
And my lovely wife, also drinks a lot of fancy beer. So how did that part come to the girls' beer sports world?
Honestly, it's not that exciting. I just really like beer, and I wanted to talk about things that I liked. Those are my two things that I liked.
Well, I was trying to be profound, but
Sorry.
But beer's good. Beer's good. Do you have a specific kind? Because I don't drink beer, but I think I can't remember what it was. I had to do, Vinny. I think I was telling you, it's sold in Kentucky. It's not sold here. And every time I would drive, I'd have to do like Smokey and the Bandit and smuggle a couple of 12 packs. I can't remember the name of it, but is there a beer that is your holy grail of beers?
I mean, I'm a big IPA person. I specifically like dry hopped IPAs. People in the beer world will know what that is, but they're a little bit less dank than a wet hopped, if that makes sense. Like sometimes if you get a wet hopped, it's just like it's almost like you're drinking bong water. It's not pleasant. But dry hopped IPA's got a nice bitterness, a nice balance, nice sweetness. Because I'm a big fan of those. Kind of honestly, one of my go-tos lately has been 6 Points out of Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
And I think they distribute, I'm not sure where they distribute, but I tend to go to Total Wine and they do 15 packs. And they have a couple of really good IPAs. Resin is probably my favorite of theirs. It's just a really good, solid, decent IPA. Kind of a good everyday drinker, if you will. But now we're getting into winter, so I'm going to have to start getting into the darker stuff. Darker beers, porters, stouts, things like that. A little higher percentage bourbon barrel aged things.
There you go.
Talking like 10, 12 percenters.
Yeah.
Those will get you where you need to be on a when it gets dark at 4:30 in Iowa or 5:30 here or whatever,
Yeah, I got that cornfield out back.
Yeah. Go mash you something, TV.
Well, we had the big corn machine come through. I don't know what you call it. They take it serious here, but to come through and harvest all that corn a couple weeks ago. So corn season's over, I guess. I don't know how things work. I'm learning. I'm really am.
So real quick, TV, when you said this is kind of actually a beer football story and combined into one, when you said the Eastbound and Down, the Smokey and the Bandit, we used to not be able to get Yingling in Kentucky. You could get it like in Ohio and Indiana, but not Kentucky. We all really liked Yingling. So I've been to South Carolina a couple of times. South Carolina is a very strange place. You park in the fairgrounds. It's very weird. I don't know. It's just very strange. We decided we want a keg of Yingling, so we actually went to the state-run liquor store. We went to a Kmart, bought a giant tub, filled it with ice, went to the state-run liquor store, bought the keg and a bunch of other Yingling, and the guy's like, if you get pulled over, this is bootlegging. And we're like, okay, and brought it back to Kentucky.
There you go. Eastbound down, loaded up and trucking,
That's
baby.
exactly right.
Yeah, that's cool, and that is weird. South Carolina's weird. You're right. I need to listen to y'all more so I can learn, because I don't really know one from the other. I know I'm not really a big dark beer person like the Killians and the Guinness and all that kind of stuff. But I think it was, and it's probably about to be out of season. There's this Highland. It's out of Asheville, North Carolina. My wife and I got some Highland. It was peachful, a little peach flavor to it. It's a little not as bitter, but it's summer's over. But that was kind of what we were kind of liking. I don't know if you tried that.
You drinking peach beer? Look at you.
I mean,
look at you. Look at Papa Hardy's boy drinking peach beer.
Maybe Carrie would frown on it, being the professional that she is.
I bet Vinny would really like sours and fruited sours.
See, there we go.
If you like the peach beer, I bet you would really like sours and fruited sours.
See, look at that. Culture. Bringing some culture to Cats Talk Wednesday.
Absolutely. As we do.
Have you back. We got to have you back on again, because, from Blog Talk to this, it's kind of going from those old tapes to HD TV.
Right.
That's our bad too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have some guests on, and then just let time get by. I don't need to have them back. And then
it didn't hit me until we had been, because Kevin had revamped Round of Shots, and I'm just sitting here like, I know we've had Carrie on before, and I text Vinny. He's like, yeah. I was like, well, when was that? And that's why I was like, well, Carrie, yeah, we need to be better about that.
Yeah,
but
I'll pull it up in the Twitter search here in a minute. I'll do Cats Talk Wednesday.
Yeah, we need to find out. It won't be so long.
Hey man, y'all have some high profile characters up in here now. Who'd you all have? Did y'all have Roy Wood Jr.?
Roy Wood Jr.
Yeah.
And some other folks.
Greg Ward's a comedian.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's all Vinny. Because I think I've told, I just kind of show up. Vinny usually texts me on Tuesday, who's coming on? And I'm like, great. So Vinny's the man behind everything. But Carrie Lewis and your news, where can we find Girls Beer Sports?
So on Twitter at GRLS Beer Sports. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram, where you can see all the pictures of all the beers that we've ever drank. Pretty much over 344 episodes, just about on that platform. And I just tell people we are everywhere good podcasts are free.
This last one was good with your girl Heather stepping in for your Destiny's Child members that weren't there.
Yeah, it happens, but I keep the show rolling. However I can.
There you go. That's all we out here doing too.
I'm gonna have to send the Mrs. TB over, because, like I said, she does fancy beers, and so I'll help her out with some podcasts and stuff. I do the best I can, Benny.
Yeah, you need to send me a picture of what she's drinking.
Yeah, well, she drinks what I tell her to drink. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll be in that cornfield tonight.
Well, Terry, it was nice to know you.
Right.
I'm glad I got to talk to you on your show and Kevin's show, and we'll probably have a eulogy. I'll give you your eulogy on Round of Shots. On
I'm gonna show up back in Kentucky. She's gonna put me on a train.
Final shot. His final shot gonna be a final shot after
That's
that.
right. That's right. But Carrie Lewis, thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate it. Keep fighting the good fight out there with the beer and the sports and all that kind of stuff. We certainly appreciate. Well, and I'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Vinny, TB, totally 100% appreciate you guys having me on. It's really always fun to talk to y'all, and go Cats.
Absolutely. I may get in the bourbon myself Sunday. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
see
get a
how
little
Saturday goes.
Yeah, I get a little fired up. So.
All right. Y'all take care.
All right. Thank you, Carrie.
Bye.
Bye.
Carrie Lewis, Girls Beer Sports, hopping on here.
Yeah.
After some years.
we need to to not. Yeah.
Yeah,
but it's hard. Like before we had Kendrick Haskins, Wave 3 Porter in Louisville. I was always running into him and talking about something. He's like, "You ever going to invite me on your show?" I said, "You haven't been?" He said, "No." I was like, "Alrighty, I'm sorry." So, but thanks to Carrie for hopping on, and we talk about it all the time. We've been very fortunate to have a lot of folks come on over the years. I mean, we're getting close to 10 years doing this, Vinny. I mean, I don't know if you're checking out the math on that, but it's getting close. And we've had great guests. Yes, we've been fortunate enough to have some big names, but I enjoy talking to other podcasters and folks doing their thing. That's the best part of doing this, to be honest with you. Besides talking to you every week.
And likewise, because like you said, it was me and you talking for several years.
Oh, it seemed like it was forever.
I enjoyed talking to you until we got some other people, and then we got some people to listen and all that. So yeah, we just been methodically doing our thing, man.
Yeah. With that being said, doing the thing, we got to talk about the Brooklyn Nets.
Boy.
So Kyrie's doing Kyrie things. The issue is when that dude said the earth was flat and we just kept it moving, and now he's being way out there, way hateful with it, we can't be surprised.
Right.
We should have nipped that in the bud. We should have, when he was being cute with the earth flat, we should have just, because everything since then he's off the thing.
Yeah.
But with Steve Nash gone, you knew that was going to happen.
I mean, come on. Yeah.
With when Kevin Durant said, "I want him gone in the offseason."
You can't go back to that.
No. Whatever job you are at, whatever job it is, if you are working at McDonald's and if you go to the location manager and you say the assistant manager needs to go or I need to go, you can't work. You can't work. You can't go in to your big boss and talk about your immediate boss. One of us got to go. Yeah, it's not a workable situation.
Uh-huh.
You need to fire him.
Somebody going to be gone.
Somebody got to go. And so the big boss has got to say, well, most of the time it's the employee. But when the employee's Kevin Durant,
right,
then the coach need to go. Which blows my mind that I can't remember, was it Broussard? Somebody had the Nets going to the finals. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's zero chance. It is Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and dudes. And Ben Simmons is a dude. Ben Simmons is a dude. Like, we talk about busts, right? We've talked about. I was just trying to think, have we ever seen someone completely not be able to do their job on a basketball level? Like, you remember Chuck Knobloch, second baseman, played for the Yankees, I think played for the Twins for a long time.
Yeah.
Got to the point he couldn't make the throw from second to first.
Yes.
Just, I think he clocked somebody's mom in the head or something one time.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a basketball player completely not engage in one of the activities of playing basketball. Like, I get it. You're not a good shooter.
Right.
But even not good shooters want to shoot the ball. Like, that is the one thing you can do by yourself on a basketball court is go and shoot. He won't shoot.
No.
And so all the Ben Simmons supporters, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, he's great. Well, is he that good that you should construct your roster around him? I don't think so.
No.
Right. I don't think he is a dude that you're like, look, okay, we got Steph Curry. This is who we need to get to fit in around him. Because the dudes that are really good, it almost doesn't matter. Like, we can debate LeBron all day long. But there was a stretch where LeBron was just taking dudes to the finals.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't matter. Like, Zarunas Ilgauskas, come on to the finals. Boobie Gibson, come on to the final. Like, he was taking a bunch of random dudes. Like, we could talk, but and really, Chicago with MJ. Yeah, he had Pippen. That helped. But it was just kind of not really great dudes.
Yeah.
Is Ben Simmons that? No. And if he's won't shoot, you can't play him.
Yeah. Even Dennis Rodman would shoot. Like, the shot clock was running down. Dennis would shoot.
Yeah, he would do that, whatever, and he'd hit every now and then.
He'd hit a jumper. But the franchise wasn't built around him either. As good as he was at what he did, he wasn't the main foundation of any of the teams either.
And the thing about Dennis Rodman, a lot of young people, and this is, look, young folks, I'm an old person. You see this pop up. Was Dennis Rodman really that good? Yes. To be 6'10" in that era of the NBA and average 20 rebounds a game, yes, he was absolutely elite at what he did.
Yeah.
And if you're not elite, you have to fill a role. And if you won't shoot,
Ben ain't ever rebounded like that or defended like Dennis.
No. Dennis Rodman gave Shaq, gave
Zoe,
gave Karl Malone the blues. The blue. Good thing for Karl Malone.
Yeah.
We don't need to talk about Karl Malone, but that dude's wild. But so with the Nets, I don't know what you do. I don't know. Look, Kyrie's almost in a gots to go situation. Yeah. You can't be dabbling in what he is, and teams keep showing you out here. And I know that Kevin Durant chose this situation, but my heart kind of goes out to him because you can't deal with Russ in OKC. He thought he found a good thing in Golden State, but that was always going to be Steph's team, no matter how good Kevin Durant was. And Durant was good. Let's not get it twisted. They needed Kevin Durant to win those championships.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Like, they needed him to do that. And thought he was getting a good start or a good situation in Brooklyn. But that's why you don't attach your wagon to the Kyrie Irvings of the world.
And then the kicker, if all this isn't enough, after Nash leaves, Jacques Vaughn's interim, the talk is they're going to bring Ime Udoka, who is just hanging out as the coach, to come in and be the next guy to have a job. So that means Boston is like, hey, man, this team in the division, they want you? Yeah, we ain't worried about it, which is crazy. And and he may insert himself into this situation to be the next head coach.
It's Brooklyn has the same issues. The Nets have the same issues as the Clippers.
Yeah.
As exciting as they may be, and don't forget, this is like the second iteration of a super team Brooklyn's tried to assemble in the last 8 or 9 years. You remember Paul Pierce and okay.
Yeah.
So
and James Harden done come and gone.
And the thing is with Brooklyn, they're never going to be to New York what the Knicks are, even with the Knicks being terrible.
Yeah, imagine if the Knicks were like the Lakers.
And even with my beloved Lakers being as bad as they are, and they're bad, the roster is bad right now.
Congrats to Darvin on that first dub, baby. Congrats. That celebration was epic too. I love how LeBron was hugging him and just.
Yeah, look, I get it, but as I say all the time, I've got memories of 8 championships, of 8 of the 11 I've been alive for. 8 I can remember. So honestly, it doesn't. I don't enjoy it, but it doesn't. This is the universe balancing it out.
Yeah,
in my mind. But the Clippers will never supplant the Lakers. It just won't happen.
Yeah.
And so the Nets, try as they might, like the Clippers, and Kawhi Leonard looks like he's gonna play once a week. They saving him for the playoffs. You may not make it, right? So I love the NBA. Giannis is still like, I'm Giannis. We forgot about that dude.
It's
His
crazy.
his sidekick went out, and we really forgot about Giannis being ridiculous. So Giannis plus another pretty good dude, the Bucks are still in the mix.
Yep.
I mean, I would not bet against Giannis in a series.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting. Golden State, I don't know, man. Besides Steph, Clay and Draymond ain't what they used to be. And so how do you keep playing those dudes those minutes when you got some young dogs on the team?
Yep.
Won a championship. How do you do that? And Draymond punching people and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like I said, I love the NBA. But the Nets, Kyrie got to go.
And who's gonna be the taker? Who?
Oh,
always all it takes is one, but who's gonna be that one?
This is a tough one because that is a tough press conference. You can't win that press conference with Kyrie because number one, the dude doesn't think he's wrong.
He's not even talking where he's at right now.
You know, that dude thinks he's wrong or thinks he's right.
Yeah.
And so he's just gonna keep saying crazy stuff. It would be different if you had someone, go back to Michael Vick when the Eagles signed him. And everybody knew, hey, you got people protesting. That's going to be a tough sell.
Yeah.
But at the very least, Vic was contrite.
Right.
And he did all the behind the scenes stuff. Kyrie's liable to tweet out some more crazy stuff as you walk into the podium.
Yeah.
That's why you can't hit your wagon to crazy. And now he's dabbling in hateful stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This is what kills me with all these free thinkers. They say some of the dumbest stuff. Everybody, like, you can find a conspiracy in everything because they think I can see it and you regular people can't see it. You're not that smart. You're not. You and not just Kyrie, but all these people, all these free thinkers, all these I see things different. They only use that power to see things differently to be hateful.
Mm-hmm.
You ever notice the people that say, I just keep it real? It's always to say something hateful.
Mm-hmm.
I just tell it like it is. Nobody tells it like it is to be like, I'm going to tell it like it is. Vinny, you're a nice person. That's not how it goes. I just want one of these free thinkers just to say something nice about somebody.
Yeah. It's maybe think it's Chappelle show when keeping it real goes wrong.
Right. People, I just keep it real. And it's always the most hateful stuff ever. I just tell it like it is. No, that's just being a jerk. That's not a benefit.
It's just license to.
Yeah. Like I'm
who you really are. Yeah. Yo.
Anyway.
Hey, real quick, we talked about Louisville a little bit, dog walking Wake Forest. Did we talk about losing the Lenore Ryan?
Man, Kenny won those games. It's gonna be bad. And with the IARP fixing the hand down there, ruling tomorrow. But to be fair, Kenny Payne, when he first got on, said it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
It's going to get bad. Now, losing to Lenore Owen, who is it?
Lenore Ryan.
Lenore Ryan. Okay.
Right here in North Carolina, I believe.
Yeah. I didn't know it was going to be that bad. But I think he can get the job done, but it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly for a little bit.
Yep.
So I guess, I want to see Kenny Payne do well, but I ain't to the point in my journey where I can root for Louisville to win.
Right.
And not enjoy their losses. I'm not quite to that point in my spiritual enlightenment to want them to do that.
Yeah.
Even though I rooted for Kenny back in '86, and I rooted for him all the years he's on Kentucky's bench now.
Yeah. And the Independent Accountability Resolution Process, IARP, will deliberate tomorrow. Rick Pitino is going to be there via Zoom, and that will go out, play out how it plays out. And Bill Self is getting suspended 4 games. Kansas is trying to lessen the blow of whatever they may eventually someday receive from the NCAA.
Yeah, it's not the best process. The IARP has been going on and hanging over Louisville for forever. And that is in itself has been a punishment. So
Right, yeah.
And we can debate the NCAA's punishment. The NCAA is not infallible. The punishment, you're fairly limited on what you can do. I get it. You don't want to punish the current players for what old players and coaches did, but I don't know a better way to do it, because I've heard people say, well, you know, financially. Well, I mean, if that's the only punishment, you can fundraise. If that's the punishment, you know, it's got to be more than just financial. But what this is can't be that.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about my Niners, baby?
I'm about to say, your boy McCaffrey, and y'all didn't even have Debo Sunday, right?
That's right.
Wow,
that's right. So
now if C-Mac can stay out of the street clothes, he got a little Anthony Davis in him. So if he can stay healthy, I mean that was it. And look, McVay, quote unquote genius, Shanahan, quote unquote genius. Look, the Niners, I mean, the Rams got the NFC title game because, you know, and they got the ring. But the Niners got to be in that head because y'all just beat them down.
It's 7 of 8 with the one being the NFC Championship game. And the thing is, the last time we played the Rams on Monday night, or was it Sunday night, Monday night, whatever, and there was a shot of Aaron Donald staring down Jimmy G. I'm like, y'all don't get it twisted. Aaron Donald is great, but he ain't have no sacks in the regular season games. So honestly, if the Niners get healthy and the back end of the defense is banged up, I still, even looking as bad as they looked against Kansas City
and Atlanta.
Well, yeah, they were banged up.
Oh, okay.
The defense has been banged up, but
I was just rubbing that in because.
Oh yeah, I know.
I'm sorry.
Healthy, there's not a team I'd be scared to play. I think we can still get to the NFC Championship game. You know, 49ers Twitter's talking about it. Like, look, everybody else hates Jimmy G, but if he can do it, he can do it. We don't even care about going on the road in the playoffs. Because last year in the playoffs, we went to Lambeau Field, and is it AT&T Jerry World? Yeah. Is it AT&T officially?
Yes, it is.
AT&T. So, you know, and anytime we play in LA, it's 50-50.
It's ridiculous, man.
When you see a home game, I don't know if you noticed this during the game, and the guard taps the center for the snap at home. Bro.
Oh,
bro. So, you know, I still like my team. You know, my Niners. I think with Debo back and Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, one thing we have seen from Kyle Shanahan, the genius part is the dude just gets things done. And moving Debo around, moving Kittle around. Brandon Ayuk is playing really, really well right now. Jusic is out hurt. But, we had another tight end that was playing the H-back, fullback position. I was like, who is this dude? Shanahan's pretty good at that. And as we've said in 49ers Twitter, like, yeah, Jimmy G ain't great, right? But to do what we've done with Jimmy G, when other teams with the same kind of quarterback play don't make the playoffs, you got to roll with it. So I'm still encouraged. McCaffrey is that dude. Do you want to be the defensive coordinator that's got a scheme for Debo and Christian McCaffrey?
Man, that's tough. That's tough. Real quick though, there's Niners Twitter ever worry about, because there's been years where Kittle's out, this guy's out, running backs are hurt. Is there concerns of like the strength and conditioning coach? You hear that sometimes. Is there a way is it just they're so physical they get hurt, or is it the way they work out that sometimes they get hurt? Or is Niner Nation concerned about that?
It's just the physical way they play. It's just the physical on both sides of the ball. I think that's part of it. And, that's why Coach Scangarello at Kentucky, there's a lot of motion, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of extra stuff that the 49ers do on offense, I think, that does that. But, yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, every team can say this. If we can stay healthy, we're pretty good. But, yeah, if you're San Francisco, you've got to feel pretty good. I know I do. I mean, McCaffrey doing a little bit of everything.
Yes, that is scary now. That is. With him, you get Debo back. And there's some Cowboys fans fussing because all the contending teams made moves to get better. The Eagles, I think I mentioned it last week, they brought in Robert Quinn, another pass rusher for that defense. Oh, my God. The Niners did what they did, all these teams doing stuff. And, I mean, there's a lot of wheeling and dealing going on in the NFL that usually you didn't see a lot of. But it's been popping. And so Cowboys are kind of like, man, we didn't do anything to kind of, sitting nice at 6-2, get the Eagles again, tied with the Giants and already beat them, but they didn't do anything to, become a buyer in this market. So we'll see.
And that's been the encouraging thing for 49ers fans. The window is open, but you don't know how long the window is going to be open. So the move to get McCaffrey was like, okay, they understand that with contracts and all that kind of stuff, in the NFL, the window doesn't stay open forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm encouraged by making moves to get better. And like I told you, the thing to keep in mind is the 49ers draft well. And drafting well made keeping Jimmy G on the roster not that bad out of an idea.
That's true.
Thankfully.
Yeah, right.
When you look at, the top players for the Niners, they were late, middle to late round draft picks. I mean, Kittle was a 5th round pick that have blossomed to all pro players. So, yeah, you got to pay them eventually. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, this window with this group is pretty darn good. And to move some picks to get Christian McCaffrey, absolutely. Now is the time to do that.
Absolutely. So we got in another good show.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, all the topics: Nets, Niners, Cowboys, Kentucky, Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Kentucky basketball, Damian Collins, Carrie Lewis, Girls Beer Sports. Got it all in. And we appreciate everybody that's going to take the time to listen and watch and retweet it and comment on it. Definitely appreciate it. I didn't get the promo video. There is one little commercial for some other shows on the BS3 Network I'm going to play right before we go out. So it is a promo for Man Talk Monday, show every Monday on the BS3 Network. So we'll get that promo in. Follow TB, Tbrown_80, as always, bringing it each and every week. He gears it up on Round the Shots, does his thing on the Spaces, does his thing here. Appreciate it. Stay warm next time them winds come through. And,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It'll be time to plant the corn again before you know it. So
absolutely.
Through this winter, and it'll be corn season, and the corn will be knee high before we know it. That's how quick the time goes by. Follow us on Cats Talk Wednesday, like always. Appreciate everybody. And we'll hit this promo, then we'll hit our outro, and we'll see everybody next Wednesday.
This is a BS3 Network presentation. Politics.
They'll write the law, but they'll enforce it differently. Is that going to apply both ways?
Religion.
God never said that we can't reason together. Matter of fact, he said, let us sit and reason together.
Relationship.
I believe that everybody wants and needs somebody.
From a man's perspective.
They say, girls, if I put some polish on that and give him buy some different clothes, girl, he could be a winner chicken dinner.
Join the thought engineer.
There's nothing wrong with me developing my piece and you developing your piece, but understand the goal is to come together.
And comedian John Yogi.
Negro, I don't need you putting on no chapstick up there in the pulpit. You do that over there in your chair.
Get ready for
Man Talk Monday. Woo!
Live every Monday at 7 p.m. Central.